On the program tonight, a political controversy on this, the 50th anniversary of the 1971 war victory. The Congress says Indira Gandhi has been ignored, this Swarnim Vijay Diwas. In fact, addressing people in Bangladesh, the President of India, who is there, didn't in his address speak about Indira Gandhi even once. She was our Prime Minister in 1971, was Indira Gandhi, and her role in the war was always seen to be instrumental. But on the show tonight, the question that we are asking is the BJP trying to usurp the legacy of the 1971 war for the liberation of Bangladesh. No mention of Indira Gandhi, the Congress party very upset. We'll get to that. That's our big debate. But first, an NDTV exclusive report. The jailed ex-Ranbaxy billionaire Shivinder Singh's wife Aditi Singh is heard making conversations with the conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar about a money exchange in explosive phone transcripts that are part of the Enforcement Directorate's charge sheet and have been exclusively accessed by NDTV. Shivinder Singh, a healthcare tycoon, has been in jail along with his brother Malvinder since October 2019 over charges of money laundering. Shivinder Singh's wife, over a period of 12 months, appears to have paid more than 200 crores to the conman Sukesh, who called the family from Tihar jail using software that allowed him to impersonate high-ranking government officials like India's Home Secretary. The software replicated or spoofed the phone numbers of top officials to make these phone calls seem authentic.
The ED's charge sheet against conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar contains recordings of at least 80 conversations between conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar and Aditi Singh, wife of Ranbaxy founder Shivinder Singh, Aditi's sister Arundhati Khanna, and Shivinder Singh himself. Some of these recordings were made by the family and given to the Enforcement Directorate after Enforcement Directorate alerted them about being duped in the name of government officers. The Singhs then went so far as to file a police case alleging extortion of 200 crore by Sukesh Chandrasekhar. Curiously, no case has been filed against them for attempting to pay off officials. Instead, Aditi Singh has alleged that she was being threatened and harassed. In this recording dated July, made by Arundhati Singh, whose sister Aditi is married to Shivinder Singh, Sukesh Chandrasekhar calls her pretending to be someone called Abhinav, a junior of India's Law Secretary Anup Kumar, pressurizing her to organize more money quickly ahead of a Supreme Court hearing on bail.
Hi pal, good morning.
Sister, I asked you for something, you cannot say no.
Have I ever said no to you, brother? We've always done whatever you've asked for.
Okay.
That also in record time.
Yes. My dear sister, listen to me.
Yes, tell me,
Before
my dear
5,
brother.
I need at least minimum of something above 50, 75, something like that. Not exact 50, should be above 50. Definitely 70, 75, something like that. Or if you're giving one, nothing like it.
In another recording dated July, Sukesh Chandrasekhar as Abhinav calls Aditi Singh, wife of Shivinder Singh, where the two argue over money, where Aditi refers to having donated to party funds but without getting any results.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you really care? You really think people do care about who is promise breaker or not? Because let me tell you something. I am the one, we are the one who are following up with you and coming to you again and again. Not just because you are going to organize some 5 crore, 10 crore or 20 crore and give. Let me tell you something. Okay.
But Abhinav, it's been a 1 year of building a relationship.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If we want to do that, we can just snap out of things. Please understand.
And why would
We
you
are
do
not that
that?
kind of people. No, we can. Because the way of your behaviors, we can.
But what is my behavior?
Hey, yaar. I'm just telling you, there's no point of arguing right now. So the only thing I'm saying to you is that we are people with ethics. We are people who care about your well-being. So that is the reason I'm telling you again and again, you will be able to pay because we know the truth.
In this third excerpt, Sukesh calls Aditi Singh pretending to be Union Home Secretary Ajay Kumar Bhalla, claiming that the Home Minister is following the case, except of course he is not, since this is not the real Home Secretary.
Hello, Aditi ji.
Ji speaking?
Yes, good afternoon. Ajay Kumar Bhalla this side, Home Secretary of India. Is this a good time? I can talk to you.
Good afternoon, sir. Yes, of course. It's a privilege to talk to you, sir. Yes, sir, I understand. Sir, may I make a small request? I'm sorry, I've been requesting for a meeting, and I would really like to come and meet if that is at all possible at any point of time. I would be most grateful for that.
I would like to mention to you that I'm sure you have been told even in before that there is certain right time for things to be done. So Mr. Anup will definitely tell you. I will also take this request to the Honorable Home Minister, and I will tell Amit Shahji your request, but it will be honored as time to come.
Yes, I would be grateful. I would be grateful
on that regard.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I understand.
But you need to understand,
Yes,
you are being handled and taken care by the topmost office of this country. That is why we all are calling you and we all are being associated with you. But we would want you to go by our instructions, as we are not okay in accepting advices and suggestions from your end.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry if I don't want to be out of line. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have reached out to Delhi Police and Aditi Singh for a response, and we are yet to get their response.
All right, an absolutely shocking state of allegations over there. That conversation seems to indicate this incredible scam which was actually taking place from Tihar jail itself. Moving on, a political controversy this 50th anniversary of the 1971 victory. The Congress says Indira Gandhi has been ignored, this Swarnim Vijay Diwas. She was our Prime Minister in 1971. We're asking, is the BJP trying to usurp the legacy of the 71 war for the liberation of Bangladesh? I'm joined by Supriya Shinate of the Congress, Sagarika Ghosh, the senior journalist, Ranbir Singh Patania of the BJP, Mandeep Singh Bajwa. He's a military historian who's worked very closely with us in the past on the history of 1971. Lalita Kumara Mangalam also with us. Supriya, what specifically or where specifically did the Congress expect mention of Indira Gandhi and her role today?
No, I first and foremost want to say that Indira Gandhi played a very, very vital, pivotal role as far as the 1971 war was concerned. Yes, that war was fought with the valor of our armed forces, but the political leadership of Indira Gandhi, the fact that we stitched a friendship treaty with Russia, the fact that she undertook a tour for 20 days from the 24th of October to the 12th of November 1971, visited many countries, and despite the fact that America and Britain were vehemently opposed to us taking action, she had the moral courage to do so.
Right.
And by taking the political leadership with the courage that she did...
No, I know this, and this is recorded fact. But Supriya, my question is, where did you expect mention of her to take place? There's a reason I'm asking.
I think in the function that was organized today,
the Swarnim Vijay Diwas function, and you wanted some sort of explicit further mention in Parliament, right?
I think we will do great disservice to our former Prime Minister by saying we want. I think as a former Prime Minister who led India to victory under her political leadership in 1971, the country did. We cannot play with facts. We cannot try and wipe out history for our petty political messaging. Okay. The Prime Minister, his coterie of ministers...
All right, let me get a response from Randeep Singh Patania of the BJP. Mr. Patania, it's not just the government at the centre. The President is in Dhaka presently at the moment. In his address, a 12.5-minute address, which was uploaded by Rashtrapati Bhavan less than 2 hours ago, there is not one mention of the role of Indira Gandhi. The President doesn't write his own speeches. It's cleared by the External Affairs Ministry and Rashtrapati Bhavan itself. Is that not surprising?
Sir, may I take you back to the year 1971? There was a spectacular Indian victory over Pakistan, the valor of Indian armed forces.
So all this we know. I'm not examining the history.
Sir, I'm
only asking you a specific question, sir. Sir, should there not have been mention in the President's speech in Dhaka, Bangladesh, of the role of Indira Gandhi? My specific question, sir.
Please allow me to make my point, sir. There is no doubt about it that Indira ji was the honorable Prime Minister at that particular time. And she was the leader. Once she came over to the Indian Parliament, she was given a standing ovation. all political parties, including Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, he was on record to say.
So
that
why
Jan
then
Sangh
on the
would
50th anniversary was there no mention?
Sir, I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it. Why this new argument is being evolved? They suspect the Indian airstrikes. They suspect the surgical strikes. And now a new argument is being evolved.
Right.
Why they
so
want,
you are saying because they've had queries
about?
on the surgical strikes and the air strikes, which you mean Balakot, there should not be mention of Indira Gandhi and her role in 1971.
Sir,
is that the summary of your argument, sir?
Sir, my respectful submission is that who denies? Did anybody say that Indira Ji's role that is written in the annals of history?
No, so why is it not mentioned today?
Everybody
You have problems with
everybody, sir.
All right, okay, I get that. Let me go across to Sagarika.
And there was an all-party consensus on it, sir.
I think Mr. Patania has I mean, it's your victory versus my victory. If you criticize how we performed in Balakot, then we will not make mention of Indira Gandhi. That's what Mr. Patania seems to be suggesting.
They want to prepare for UP. They want to prepare for
No,
Punjab.
sir, who's preparing for UP, sir?
By putting in fingers.
All right, 1 second, Sagarika Ghosh, go ahead. I think Mr. Patania really made a key point here. He said that who is questioning? They have questioned on surgical strikes. They have questioned on air strikes. He's referring obviously to Balakot and to the surgical strikes. Right? So saying that, they haven't done it. So why are you asking us about Indira Gandhi's role in 71 and the lack of the mention?
There is
How
one
would you
question.
respond to that?
Everybody
Sagarika, go ahead.
Vishnu, I just want to say that whether you mention Indira Gandhi or not, whether her name is taken or not, the fact is she is indelibly linked with the 1971 war. She looms over that war so dominatingly that whether or not any kind of politics is played over her, whether she's mentioned or not mentioned, the fact is you cannot separate Indira Gandhi from the 1971 war. Now, the government can argue that this was a military function and so therefore the army was being honored. It's a military celebration. So why bring in the name of any politician? The fact is Indira Gandhi cannot be separated from the Bangladesh war because it was her finest hour, Vishnu. Worldwide, she was hailed as a heroine. She showed enormous courage. She stood up to the United States, which, as you know, sent in the 7th Fleet into the Bay of Bengal. As the 7th Fleet was steaming in, I just want to read out a speech, if you'll just excuse me, that I've quoted in my biography of Indira Gandhi, in which she says, "We will not retreat. Not by a single step will we move back. We will always defend our freedom with our bare fists, if necessary." With our bare fists. That was Indira Gandhi in 1971. The Economist called her the Empress of India. So she was globally hailed. I would like to say that just as we castigate Indira Gandhi for the emergency on every year on 25th June, the BJP and its followers on social media take Indira Gandhi justifiably to the cleaners,
right? But not on 1971,
in India,
right?
So if you can do that during the emergency,
yeah. So pick and choose where to criticize her. Lalita Kumaramangalam, isn't it a bit bizarre that on a day like this, when we are celebrating our greatest military victory, one of the greatest moments in our existence as a nation, the role of Indira Gandhi should be entirely ignored? I mean, are we trying to revise history?
Yeah, Vishnu, first let me make it clear, I'm not here as a member of the BJP or anything of the sort.
Right.
I'm here as an Indian who has had both family and very good friends in the armed forces. Today, the government took the decision to celebrate what was essentially achieved by our armed forces in 1971. Undeniably, under the charismatic leadership of Indira Gandhi, as Sagarika pointed out, the 1971 war is indelibly linked with Indira Gandhi. She was then called the Empress of India. She was called the only man in her cabinet. There were many flowery
not to have mentioned her. That's the point.
And yes, she deserves credit for having taken that very tough decision.
Do you not believe that your party has made a mistake in not naming her today?
It's not my party. I said I'm not here as a member of the BJP.
But ma'am, you can't remove your identity from the BJP, ma'am.
My identity is not merely as a member of the BJP.
I understand that, ma'am, but you are here in the context of being a representative of the BJP.
I'm not here as spokesperson of the BJP. I said that quite clearly.
No, but ma'am, it seems strange when you would switch on and switch off. You're choosing to be a part of the BJP.
Vishnu,
let me finish what I was saying.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, Mrs. Kumaramangalam.
Let me finish. So while I have no intention of denying, remember that my father was a key member of her cabinet at that time. So I'm not about to deny what her role undeniably was. But the fact is that to make this a huge issue on a day which is sort of culminates after what armed forces have had a terrible week, what with our CDS dying in that unfortunate air crash, all the 11 people, you know psychologically how the army also needs to be pumped up now and then. The 50th anniversary was an ideal opportunity for whichever government is in power. It is the BJP that's in power now.
What are we talking about?
To let the armed forces know that, look, the country stands by you. We appreciate
why would anybody believe that our country is not behind the armed forces? All right, ma'am, just one moment. I want to go across to Mandeep Singh Bajwa, who's a historian who's looked at 71 very, very closely. Mandeep, the question to you is this. Is there a real danger, Mandeep Bajwa, that we are revising or attempting to revise our military history by taking away the role of Indira Gandhi, which to many cannot be separated from 1971?
Took it away.
Well,
it can't be taken away.
I think if people are attempting to revise history or minimize Mrs. Gandhi's role, then one must, once again talk about what her contribution was. From the beginning, she was clear that we had to militarily intervene in Bangladesh, and the army wanted time. The armed forces actually they wanted time, and she agreed. And the 8 months which the armed forces wanted, she agreed to that. And at the end of it, they were fully prepared, and they were able to liberate Bangladesh in 13 days. I mean, this must go to a credit, and the foreign policy initiatives that she took, the treaty with Russia, her tour of world capitals, and not only that, it's one thing which very few people know about, that she reached out to field commanders in the military, 1-star and 2-star officers, and talked with them and asked them what the plans. And she asked them a very leading question: that do you think we will win the war? And on the basis of that, she formulated her policies. I mean, this is something you cannot, her leadership was of such a high order.
Right, so you believe there should have been mention of that. Okay, Supriya, my question is this. Were Rahul Gandhi or Priyanka or Sonia Gandhi not invited by the government to any of these ceremonies? Were they not invited?
Vishnu, I think we are making a cardinal mistake here. We are making a sinful mistake here by reducing this to Indira Gandhi, who is the grandmother of Rahul Gandhi. Indira Gandhi is India's former Prime Minister who died a martyr's death, and to deny her a mention.
There is that association. Rahul Gandhi is making a point. I'm merely making the point, asking you, was he or Priyanka or Sonia Gandhi ji not invited by this government to Swarnim Vijay Diwas?
It is not about an invitation. The fact that this government chose to divorce Indira Gandhi's mention from the very war of 1971, which she actually led India to victory, is a sign of the Prime Minister's picture. No, I am answering your question, Vishnu. The Prime Minister wants to take credit for vaccination. He wants to take credit for India winning the World Cup.
I'm asking if they were invited to any function called by the government on 1971, yes or no?
Lalita, please don't interfere. There are two of you from the BJP.
It's very convenient for you to invited Vishnu to the function. They should have gone there and mentioned their grandmothers or their mother-in-law's name.
Supriya, finish your point, yes?
Lalita Kumaramangalam, it is not your turn to speak. You have conveniently decided.
No. Let's not waste their time, Supriya. Give me an answer. Please finish your point, Supriya.
Stop giving me
strictures. It is not about an invite. Lalita, please keep quiet. It's my turn to speak. Offer me the courtesy that I offered you.
Kindly be a little more polite on national television, Ms.
No, I don't want to be polite.
As rude as you are normally. Kindly do not look down on us.
Mrs. Kumaramangalam, you have to let her make her point.
You're making no sense at all. Lalita, please wait. Please wait for your turn.
Be a little more polite on national television.
No, I don't want to be polite to someone who suddenly decides to give up her identity of BJP today.
Go ahead, Supriya.
It is not about an invitation that's extended or not. It is the very mention of Indira Gandhi and the absolute absence of her name from the Prime Minister, from his coterie of ministers, from all the functions held. What are they trying to do? They're trying to rewrite history.
All right,
Indira
Ranveer
Gandhi
Singh Pathania, take on that question.
And
Last
she cannot.
comment from you. What sense is there? It just seems such a trivial and a nonsensical thing to do.
Get your bearings right.
To take out a certain part of our history. How would it have taken away anything from the identity of the BJP or of this government or of the Prime Minister by mentioning Indira Gandhi? How would it have hurt anything?
Sir, my respectful submission is that a very, very offensive tweet by Priyanka Gandhi ji, whereby she mentions the Prime Minister's misogynist. Please don't create issues just out of thin air. I am the one to affirm the very stand of my party.
So she said that she believes the Prime Minister was misogynist in not mentioning the role of a woman who happened to be our first woman Prime Minister.
Sir, allow me to make. Nobody could deny, nobody could dispute the role played by Indira ji as well as the role played by the armed forces. Why don't you talk of Sir Manek Shah? Why don't you talk of surgical strikes? Why don't you talk of air strikes? Why do you want to bat for UP and Punjab? Why creating just...
All right, okay, now we have, unfortunately, it's become a free-for-all. I apologize for that, but it is a huge issue. What exactly was our government trying to do in not mentioning the role of Indira Gandhi? Do we need to be revisionists as far as our military history of something as important as 1971 is concerned? As you can expect, lots of comments on coup. Why is the government afraid of taking the name of our brave woman Prime Minister? Rohan Kapoor writes, this is a fear of losing the upcoming elections or arrogance of the BJP government. So a couple of perspectives over there. We are out of time on this program. Goodbye.